As Christians, if we want to have actual conversations, real discussions, we can't pose trick questions. We can't try to ensnare people. But this is exactly what this user is trying to do.
So the claim is, I was once a Christian, but I'm no longer a Christian.
So the question seems pretty straightforward, but when we actually dive into what he has to say, it's not straightforward. What he's doing is really setting up a trap.
And that leaves two logical starting points. Number one, you were never a Christian. That's plausible, and I believe that's the only logical option.
So this is really the conclusion that he comes to. He gives two options, but he ends up coming to this conclusion either way. And I think it's disingenuous. And what it tells me is that he doesn't actually take atheists seriously. And if he doesn't take atheists seriously, why should they take him seriously? Now, trying to strip away people of their past, of their history, just doesn't make sense. Some people were Christians and they're no longer Christian. That doesn't mean that they were never Christian. And even if they were never Christian, how does that actually further any conversation? It doesn't. It just makes you really look like you're being intolerant, that you're trying to strip them of something that really was important to them at one time. But there's more here. He's going to actually dive into a logical fallacy, the no true Scotsman fallacy. So let's see how it plays out.
But option two is you were a Christian, right? You really were. You had the Spirit of God residing in your flesh as the new tabernacle of the new covenant, and you left him.
So what he's doing here, he's kind of building up this ideal sense of what it means to be a Christian. He's ignoring every other type of what Christianity could mean. He's ignoring everything else except his very narrow definition of what it means to be a Christian. And by doing that, he's able to allow for a sneaky little swap here that really isn't going to change the mind of any atheist. It's just going to really make people who are like him believe more like him. It's just an argument for people like him. It's not an argument for atheists because they're just going to reject this notion. But let's see how this plays out.
Now, an atheist can't claim number two. So you were never a Christian.
And this is where we get the logical fallacy. So he's built up this really ideal type of Christian. And then he's saying, well, if you're an atheist, you could never have actually been this type of Christian because you don't believe in God. So you couldn't actually leave God because according to you, God doesn't exist and never existed. What he completely misses is that at one point, these individuals truly believed that God existed, that they were truly in fellowship with Jesus and God. And they just don't believe that anymore. So that doesn't negate anything that they once believed. It just means that they don't believe it anymore. That doesn't mean that they were never Christian. It just means that they're not Christian now. One of the big flaws in his argument is that he's assuming by fiat that God does exist. And he's taking that view as if it's the only view possible. But in order to take that view, you have to prove that God exists. Now, the thing about this is that I don't even care about the argument because the argument is just silly. It's just nonsensical. But the problem is that it just drives more people away from Christianity because what he's doing is he's just criticizing for the sake of criticizing. He's mocking for the sake of mocking. He's not doing anything good. He's not putting out any positivity in the world. He's just undermining people. He's just demeaning people because he doesn't believe that they were actually Christian. He doesn't take them seriously. He doesn't care what their views were because to him, their views don't matter because they're wrong completely. And as Christians, we have to stop being so dang arrogant. We can do better than that. We can have real conversations. But if you have this small, narrow-minded view, you're not going to go anywhere in a discussion with someone who has a different view than you. You're just going to fulfill the stereotype that atheists already have of Christians. So let's not do that. Let's actually be open. Let's do what James tells us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And then we can actually have real discussions and conversations and find out where these people are coming from so that we can meet them where they are and actually produce some positivity instead of just this endless amount of negativity that people like this creator want to do.